A quarter-inch was exactly the distance separating the overturned tray of champagne from the bullet that would have pierced the heart of the most dangerous man in New York. Most people run when they see a gun. Most people scream when glass shatters. But on a rainy Tuesday in October, Maya Linwood did not run. She noticed a faint trembling ruby light sliding across the silk tie and in a fraction of a second made the decision that would rewrite the history of the criminal world. That night she did not simply save a life. She unleashed a war. And it all began with a red dot. The Obsidian Hall on the 42nd floor of a faceless steel tower in the heart of Manhattan was one of those places where the air conditioning smelled of old money and vanilla orchid. For Maya Linwood it smelled of exhaustion. It was the 14th of October 2024. Maya had been on her feet for 9 hours, and her cheap black ballet flats bought in a discount store in Queens were 2 sizes too small and squeezed her toes with every step across the polished marble floors. She was not supposed to serve that section. It was normally reserved for model waitresses hired more for their cheekbones than for their ability to hold a tray. But Sarah, the regular girl on the section, called in sick with the flu. The manager, a plump man named Mr. Henderson, pointed a fat finger at Maya. "Do not speak until spoken to," he hissed, adjusting his bow tie, "and for God's sake fix your apron. Table 4 in 5 minutes. If you ruin it you are fired. Without severance." Maya did not argue. She could not afford to. The rent was 3 weeks overdue, and the bills for her mother's treatment lay in a terrifying stack on the kitchen table, threatening to collapse and crush her. She needed the tips. She needed this job. At 8:15 in the evening, the elevator doors slid open and the atmosphere in the restaurant changed. It was not a subtle shift. It was a vacuum, as though all the oxygen had been sucked from the room to feed the entering man. Gabriel Moretti. Even if you did not read the crime pages or follow the whispered rumors of the underworld, you knew who he was. At 34, he headed the Moretti Syndicate, an organization the FBI had been trying unsuccessfully to destroy since the late 90s. He did not look like a thug. He looked like a prince who had killed the king. He wore a charcoal grey 3-piece suit that cost more than Maya would earn in 10 years. Dark hair combed back and eyes the color of cold espresso. He was accompanied by 2 men. One was enormous, a wall of muscle named Ellis. The other leaned sharp with a smile that never reached his eyes. Nico Vespri, his right hand. Maya stood at the service station gripping the tray until her knuckles turned white. They took their places at table number 4. The corner booth with a panoramic view of the city through floor-to-ceiling windows down which rain streamed. "Water," barked Nico without looking at her when she approached. "And bring the Barolo from 98. Open it at the table." "Yes, sir," whispered Maya. Gabriel did not look at her. He stared out the window and his expression was unreadable. He looked bored or perhaps tired. A strange observation about a man who could order a murder as easily as he ordered a steak. But Maya had the habit of noticing what others missed. It was a survival mechanism forged in the foster system that took in children and spat them out. You learned to read the temperature of a room before you entered it. Dinner service was tense. Maya moved like a ghost, pouring wine, clearing plates, refilling water glasses. She tried to become invisible. The men spoke in low voices, discussing shipments unions and an incident in Jersey. It was 9:02 in the evening when it happened. Maya approached the table with the dessert menu. Gabriel leaned back against the plush velvet booth back, unbuttoning his jacket. He took a sip of wine and his gaze slid toward the restaurant entrance. Maya stopped. She was 3 feet away. In the reflection of the heavy glass window behind Gabriel she saw something. It was not the city lights. It was a tiny rhythmic flicker. She frowned. She looked at Gabriel. Right there above his heart on the snow-white fabric of his shirt was a red dot. Small, no larger than a ladybug. It did not tremble. It was motionless. Time did something strange. It did not slow. It stretched. Maya looked at the dot. Looked at the window. She calculated the angle the building across the street, the roof exit. Sniper, her brain screamed the word before her lungs could draw a breath. Gabriel was reaching for his wineglass. If he took a sip he would lean forward. If he leaned forward the bullet might miss. But he did not lean. He sat perfectly still. Maya did not think about the rent. She did not think about her mother. She did not think that touching a man like Gabriel Moretti usually equaled a death sentence. She dropped the menu. Down she screamed. It was not a polite warning. It was a guttural cry that tore through the quiet luxury of the restaurant. Before Gabriel could turn his head, Maya threw herself at him. She did not simply push him. She knocked him down. She brought her full weight down on his chest, driving her shoulder into his sternum. The impact knocked the breath out of him. They fell backward into the velvet booth at the exact moment the glass behind them exploded. Crack. Zip. The sound was deafening. The high-velocity bullet sliced the air where Gabriel's chest had been milliseconds earlier. It tore through the expensive mahogany table, scattering splinters and glass shards like shrapnel. Guests screamed. Ellis, the bodyguard, drew his pistol before the second glass fragment touched the floor and flipped the table, creating a barricade. "Stay down," he roared, scanning the windows. Maya lay on Gabriel, her face buried in his neck that smelled of sandalwood and gunpowder. She was shaking. His arms wrapped around her, not in an embrace but reflexively pressing her to him while debris rained down. She pulled back, gasping, and looked down at him. Gabriel's eyes were wide open. The boredom had vanished, replaced by terrifying focus. He looked at the hole in the table. He looked at the shattered window. Then he looked at the trembling waitress lying on top of him. He touched her cheek. His hand came away red. "You are hurt," he said. His voice was shockingly calm amid the screams. Maya touched her temple. A glass shard had sliced the skin. "I saw the dot," she stammered. "The red dot." "Get them out now," Nico shouted into the radio pale as a sheet. Ellis grabbed Gabriel by the collar, lifting him while keeping him low. Gabriel did not release Maya. He gripped her wrist with such force that bruises remained. "She comes with us," Gabriel ordered. "Boss, she is a civilian. We need to move," Ellis objected. She saw the shooter. "She comes with us," Gabriel roared, and his voice cut through the panic. They moved. Maya had no choice. Surrounded by armed men, she was dragged through the kitchen exit, hauled down the service stairs, and shoved into the backseat of a black SUV with the engine running. When the tires screeched away from the wet asphalt, Maya looked back at the restaurant. Her life, small, quiet, full of struggle, the life she knew, disappeared. She was in the belly of the beast. The ride blurred into a smear of nausea and terror. Maya sat wedged between Gabriel and Ellis in the back of the armored SUV. No one spoke. The only sounds were the heavy breathing of the men and the crackle of voices on the front seat radio coordinating with other vehicles. Gabriel was busy. He stripped off the ruined jacket, checked the heavy pistol pulled from a hidden ankle holster. He checked the chamber, clicked the safety, and then turned his gaze on Maya. In the flashing streetlight, his face was hard, angular, and terrifyingly beautiful. He studied her like a biologist studying a new unknown species of insect. "What is your name?" he asked. "Maya," she whispered. "Maya Linwood." "Who do you work for?" "Maya." "At the Obsidian." "You know you were just there." "I do not mean the restaurant," said Gabriel, and his voice dropped an octave lower. He leaned forward, invading her personal space. "I mean, who paid you to notice the dot? Who told you to throw yourself on me?" "The Russians." "The Triad." Maya blinked. Tears mixed with dried blood on her cheek. "What? No one." "I saw the laser. I did not want you to die." Gabriel laughed a dry, joyless laugh. "No one does anything for free in this city, Maya. Least of all saves my life. You expect me to believe a waitress has combat veteran reflexes. I grew up in foster homes," Maya snapped, and a sudden flash of anger cut through her fear. "You learn to move fast when you do not want to get hit. And I did not want a corpse in my section. The paperwork would have been a nightmare." For a second, silence hung in the car. Ellis stared at her, stunned. Nico in the front seat glanced in the rearview mirror. Gabriel looked at her. Then the corner of his mouth twitched. "Faster," Gabriel told the driver. They did not go to the hospital. They did not go to the police station. They headed north out of the city, crossing bridges and winding through dark highways until the silhouette of New York became a distant glow in the rearview mirror. 2 hours later, the SUV crunched over gravel. They arrived at a private estate in the Hudson Valley. It was a fortress of glass and concrete hidden deep in the forest. "Take her inside, search her, then bring her to my office," Gabriel ordered when the car stopped. Maya was treated like a package. Ellis led her inside. Cold modern women, more like soldiers than housekeepers, searched her, checking for bugs, weapons, or trackers. They took her phone. "Hey, I need that," Maya protested. "My mom." "You will get it back if you survive the night," the woman answered coldly. Maya was led to a huge office. A fire crackled in the fireplace, casting long dancing shadows on the walls. Gabriel stood by the fireplace, pouring a glass of whiskey. He had removed his tie, unbuttoned the top blood-spattered shirt buttons. He turned to her, extending the glass. Drink. Maya shook her head. I do not want your whiskey. I want to go home. You cannot go home, Maya said Gabriel, taking a sip himself. The shooter missed because of you. That makes you a loose end. If I let you go by morning, you will be dead. The people who want me dead work thoroughly. Maya felt her legs buckle. She sank into the leather armchair. Then I am a prisoner. You are a guest under reinforced protection, Gabriel corrected. He moved closer and crouched so their eyes were level. Up close she saw the fatigue in his eyes again. Why did you do it? I told you the truth, he interrupted gently. You risked your life. Why? Maya looked at his hands. Large, tanned, capable of violence and yet holding the crystal glass with grace. Because, said Maya, and her voice trembled. My father died in crossfire when I was 6. He was simply walking down the street. No one warned him. No one pushed him aside. I saw that dot on your chest and I simply could not watch it happen again. Not if I could stop it. Gabriel stared at her for a long time. Firelight flickered in his dark eyes. He searched for a lie or crack in her story but found only raw traumatic honesty. He rose, turning his back to her. Nico, he called. Nico entered the room instantly. Boss. Prepare the guest wing. Call a doctor for her face. And post guards around her door perimeter. No one enters or leaves without my direct permission. Not even you. Nico's eyes narrowed slightly. A microscopic spark of irritation. Boss, we do not know who she is. She could be a plant. She is not a plant, Nico said Gabriel, and his voice was final. She is simply a girl who had bad luck. Go. When Nico left, Gabriel turned back to Maya. Sleep, Linwood. Tomorrow we hunt the hunter. And you will help me. How, she asked, confused. Because you saw the angle, Gabriel said darkly. And you have eyes that notice what my men miss. Maya was led to a room larger than her entire apartment. The bed was made in silk. The bathroom was marble. But when the heavy door clicked and the bolt turned from outside, the luxury lost all meaning. She walked to the window. Outside in the forest darkness, she saw shadows of men with rifles patrolling the grounds. She was alive. She had saved the King of New York. But touching the bandage on her cheek, Maya felt rising anxiety. The bullet she had dodged that night was only the first shot. She approached the door and pressed her ear to it. Muffled voices sounded in the hallway. It was a professional, Nico was saying to Ellis. From the roof of the building across the street. High angle. Only a few knew we would be at the Obsidian tonight. I know, Nico's voice answered. It sounded strange. Then we have a leak, or Ellis said slowly. Someone made a mistake. Watch your tongue, Nico snapped. Focus on the girl. If she remembers anything else, anything at all, report it to me first. Why to you? Because I am the second in command, Ellis. Know your place. Maya stepped back from the door, her heart pounding. There was something desperate in Nico's tone. A note. And then she understood. The danger was not only outside in the forest. It was inside the house. And she was the only one who did not belong here. Morning light did not filter softly into the guest room. It burst through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Maya woke with a sharp gasp. Her hand flew to her cheek where the bandage served as a harsh reminder that last night had not been a fever dream. She sat up in the huge bed. The silk sheets rumpled. The silence of the house was heavier than city noise. It was a suffocating, airtight silence. She needed to leave. She needed to visit her mother. Her mother, Linda, was in a nursing home in Queens suffering from early-onset dementia. If Maya missed a payment or did not come for the Sunday visit, Linda would panic, or worse, the facility would discharge her. She jumped out of bed, still in the blood-stained waitress uniform. She found a heavy robe in the closet, wrapped herself in it, and stepped into the hallway. The door was unlocked. That was surprising, but as she walked down the long gallery-like hallway hung with abstract art that looked like furious brushstrokes, she understood why. At the end of the hallway, Ellis stood like a statue. He crossed his massive arms over his chest. Breakfast in the solarium, he rumbled, pointing left. Do not wander. I need my phone, Maya said in a hoarse voice. I need to call my mom. Talk to the boss. Maya tightened the robe belt and marched resolutely toward the solarium. Anger was useful fuel. It burned the fear. The solarium was a room with glass walls overlooking a dense fog-wrapped forest. Gabriel Moretti sat at a round glass table. He wore a black turtleneck and trousers, looking more like a tech billionaire than a mafia boss, except for the 9mm pistol lying casually beside his coffee cup. He did not look up when she entered. "Clothes are in the closet. You did not use them." "I want my life back," Maya said, stopping at the edge of the table. "I want my phone. I have obligations. I am not one of your soldiers." Gabriel slowly raised his eyes. Morning light accentuated the sharp angles of his face. He looked rested, dangerous, and irritatingly calm. "Sit," he ordered. Maya hesitated, then pulled out a chair and sat at a. "Eat," he said, gesturing to fruit pastries and eggs. "I am not hungry. Adrenaline burns calories. You will collapse if you do not eat. And I need you in shape." Gabriel took a sip of coffee. "I ran a background check on you, Maya Linwood. Foster homes until 18. 3 jobs. Mother in a nursing home. You are drowning in debt." Maya felt a cold wave of indignation. "You have no right." "I have every right. I need to know who saved me," Gabriel interrupted. He slid a sleek black smartphone across the table. It was not hers. "Your phone is being checked for trackers. Use this." "I already called the facility. Your mother's bills are paid for the next year. I told them you were urgently sent on assignment out of state." Maya stared at the phone, mouth open. Anger swelled, replaced by a confusing mix of relief and suspicion. "Why?" "Because I pay debts," said Gabriel. "And because you will be busy." "Busy with what?" Gabriel touched the table surface. From the center, a holographic screen projected military-grade high-tech equipment. It displayed floor plans of the Obsidian. "Nico and my security team claim the shot came from the roof of the bank across the street." "Standard sniper position," Gabriel said, enlarging the map. "But you saw the dot on my chest." "Yes, the red dot." "Laser sight," Gabriel corrected. "Professionals do not use laser sights, Maya. It gives away the position. Amateur, pure Hollywood nonsense." Unless he fell silent, watching her closely. "Unless they wanted you to see it," Maya whispered. And the realization crashed over her. Gabriel's eyes flashed with approval. "Exactly. If they had wanted me dead, they would have used an optical sight with wind correction, and I would have been brain matter on the wall before I heard the shot. But they used a laser. They wanted you to flinch. They did not want you to panic," said Maya, and her thoughts raced. "When I knocked you down, we fell backward. If we had moved forward or left into open space, you would have been in the line of a second shooter," Maya finished. Gabriel nodded darkly. "Nico says the shooter was alone. My intuition says he is wrong. My intuition has kept me alive for 10 years. He leaned forward and his hand touched hers on the table. From that contact, an electric jolt ran up her arm. His skin was warm, rough. "You have eyes that notice details people ignore. I need those eyes." "You have an entire army of people," Maya objected, pulling her hand back. "I have an army of soldiers. Soldiers see targets. They do not see patterns. And right now, I do not know which of my soldiers I can trust." Gabriel's voice dropped to a whisper. "The glass in the restaurant. It shattered too easily. It was bulletproof laminate. It should have spiderwebbed with cracks. Not exploded. Someone replaced it beforehand." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "Someone from inside." "Tonight I am going to a meeting," Gabriel said, rising. 5 families are gathering to discuss the attempt on my life. I need you there. I am a waitress. I cannot go to a mafia meeting. You are no longer a waitress. Tonight you are my fiancé." Maya choked on the air. "Excuse me. It is the perfect cover. It explains why I am distracted, why I keep you close, and why a civilian is in the room. You are my new obsession, my weakness." Gabriel circled the table and stood behind her chair. He leaned down, his lips right at her ear. "If they decide you are just a pretty distraction, they will not hide their cards from you. And you will watch. You will tell me who gets nervous. You will tell me who looks at Nico. And if I refuse, then I cannot guarantee your mother's safety," Gabriel said. It was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. "My enemies will find you to get to me. The only safe place for you now is beside me." Maya closed her eyes. She was in a trap. A golden cage, but a cage nonetheless. "Fine," she exhaled. "But if I die, Linwood, I will haunt you as a ghost." Gabriel smiled. A low dark sound that vibrated in her chest. "Deal." The meeting place was an underground art gallery in Chelsea called The Void. It was neutral territory owned by the Swiss formerly inviolable. And Maya was no longer in waitress uniform. She wore an emerald green silk dress that hugged every curve of her body with a slit up to the thigh. She wore diamond earrings that weighed more than her car. Her hair was pinned up, exposing the elegant line of her neck. She felt like an imposter. And she felt like bait. Gabriel was in a tuxedo, looking devastatingly elegant, but Maya knew that under the custom wool he wore a bulletproof vest. When they stepped out of the limousine, paparazzi flashes popped like snowflakes. Gabriel's hand rested firmly on the small of her back, guiding her inside. "Smile," he whispered. "You adore me." "I hate you," she hissed through a dazzling smile. "Good. It keeps the fire." More convincing. They descended into the gallery. The walls were concrete, decorated with grotesque modern metal sculptures. The air was thick with tension and expensive cigar smoke. In the center of the hall, around a long steel table, sat the heads of the other families. There was Donatello Rossi, a portly man with a raspy laugh and shark eyes. There was Adrian Thorne, a British emigrant who controlled the docks. And there was the representative of the Bratva, a silent man named Volkov. Nico stood behind Gabriel's chair. Ellis stood at the door. Gabriel pulled the chair out for Maya. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice smooth. "Sorry for the delay. My fiancée Maya could not decide on the earrings." The men stared at her. Rossi licked his lips. "Fiancée. You move fast, Gabriel. I thought you were married to business." "Priorities change when you almost die," said Gabriel, taking his seat. He looked relaxed, but Maya saw the tension in his jaw. The meeting began. It was terrifying. Discussions of territory, supply routes, and compensation for the Obsidian incident. Maya sat silent, sipping champagne, playing the role of bored trophy wife. But her eyes moved. She watched Rossi. He was loud, boisterous, constantly checking his gold watches. He seemed too eager to please. She watched Thorne. He was calm, cleaning his nails with a small knife. Then she watched Nico. Nico was not looking at the table. He was not watching the room. He was watching Volkov the Russian. And Volkov was tapping his finger on his glass in a rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. Maya's heart pounded. It was a signal. She looked under the table. The tablecloth was short. She saw Volkov's leg slide toward a black briefcase beside Gabriel's chair. It was not a briefcase. It was a stun grenade or a bomb. Gabriel, Maya whispered, leaning in to kiss his cheek. It looked like a tender gesture. Gabriel did not flinch. "The Russian," she breathed into his skin. "He is signaling Nico. And there is a briefcase under your chair. It was not there when we Saturday." Gabriel pulled back, looking into her eyes. He did not question. He did not hesitate. He stood abruptly. "I need a glass of champagne, and here it is garbage." "Sit," Maya, Rossi roared. "We are not finished." "I am finished," said Gabriel. He grabbed Maya by the hand. "Let us go, darling." When they turned to leave, the lights in the gallery went out. Darkness swallowed the hall. Down Gabriel roared, throwing Maya to the floor for the second time in 48 hours. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like strobes. Ta 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 ta. Automatic burst from the left side of the steel table. Maya hit the cold concrete floor, covering her head with her hands. The sound was deafening. Screams and the clink of broken glass and the clear boom of Gabriel's heavy pistol firing back. "Ellis, exit," Gabriel shouted. But Ellis was not at the door. Ellis was fighting hand to hand with two of Rossi's men in the passage. "Nico," Gabriel called. No answer. A flashlight beam cut through the smoke. It slid over them. There a voice shouted. It was Nico's voice. Maya froze. Nico was directing the shooters. Gabriel cursed. He dragged Maya behind a large bronze sculpture of a twisted torso. Bullets struck sparks from the metal inches from their heads. "He betrayed us," Gabriel growled, reloading with train speed. "Nico, my blood brother." "We are trapped," Maya cried, looking around. The main exit was blocked by fire. "Ventilation," Gabriel said, pointing up. "Can you climb?" "I think so." "Go, I will cover." "I will not leave you," Maya screamed, surprising even herself. Gabriel looked at her. His face was smeared with soot. For a moment the war around them receded. "Maya, if you stay you die. If you go you can bring help. Dial the number on the phone I gave you. Press 1. It is the connection to the cleaners." I will not leave you, she repeated stubbornly. She looked around. Her gaze fell on the fire alarm on the far wall beside a stack of propane tanks used for outdoor terraces. Give me your pistol, Maya said. What? Give me the damn pistol. Gabriel hesitated, then handed her the spare pistol from his waistband. Safety is off. Do not shoot yourself in the foot. Maya did not shoot herself in the foot. She did not shoot at the bad guys. She took a breath, aimed at the propane tank 6 meters away, and pulled the trigger. She missed. Lower, Gabriel shouted, giving covering fire at the approaching shadows. Maya steadied her trembling hands. Focus like in the arcade games with Dad. Like on the red dot. She fired again. Ding. Hiss. The bullet pierced the tank. Gas hissed out. Invisible but deadly. Now shoot the heater, Maya shouted. Gabriel needed no second telling. He fired once at the igniter of the heater next to the leaking tank. Boom. A fireball rose, shattering the back wall of the gallery and sending a shock wave that knocked everyone off their feet. The sprinkler system kicked in pouring rain over fire and chaos. Run now. Gabriel grabbed her by the waist and they ran through smoke and the hole in the wall. They tumbled into the back alley, coughing wet and alive. They ran. They did not stop until they were 3 blocks away, hiding in the shadow of a dumpster. Gabriel leaned against the brick wall, sliding down until he sat on the wet asphalt. He pressed his hand to his side. Gabriel Maya fell to her knees beside him. He pulled his hand away. His white shirt was soaked red. Damn, he croaked. Looks like they got me. No, 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 Maya whispered in panic. She pressed her hands to the wound. You cannot die. You promised to pay my mom's bills. Gabriel laughed, a wet bubbling sound. He raised his bloody hand, cupping her face. Rain mixed with blood on his skin. You blew up an art gallery, he whispered, looking at her with something like awe. I improvised, she sobbed. Maya, he said, his voice fading. Do not trust Ellis. Do not trust anyone. Only you. His eyes rolled back. His head fell forward. Gabriel, Maya screamed, shaking him. Gabriel, wake up. She fumbled for the phone he had given her. Her hands were slippery with his blood. She dialed the number. Pressed 1. The cleaner's a robotic voice answered. He is hurt, she screamed into the phone. The boss is hurt. We are at 24th and 10th. Help us. She dropped the phone and pulled Gabriel's head into her lap, rocking back and forth. Rain fell on New York, washing away the sins of the night, but it could not wash the blood from her hands. Maya Linwood was no longer just a witness. She had become a player. And looking at the dying king in her arms, she realized the terrible truth. She was falling in love with him. Rain in New York does not wash away the dirt. It just makes it slicker. Maya sat in a puddle of oily water in the alley. The knees of her emerald dress were ruined. Her hands pressed against the hole in Gabriel Moretti's side. He lost consciousness moments after she made the call. Now he was simply a heavy warm weight beside her. His breathing was shallow and raspy. Come on, she whispered, teeth chattering from cold and shock. Do not dare die. You are the king of New York, right? Kings do not die next to dumpsters. Headlights cut through the downpour. A nondescript grey van screeched to a stop at the alley entrance. The side door flew open and a man stepped out. He was not in a suit. He wore blue surgical scrubs and carried a black sports bag. He was older, balding, with wire-rimmed glasses instantly covered in raindrops. Are you the girl? He barked, coming closer. He is bleeding out, Maya screamed. The man, Victor the cleaner, wasted no time on pleasantries. He knelt, checked Gabriel's pulse, and lifted his eyelids. Yes, he lost a liter, maybe more. Grab him by the legs. We lift on 3. I cannot lift his legs. Or he dies right here, Victor roared. Maya sobbed a sharp, ugly sound, but grabbed Gabriel by the ankles. He was dead weight heavy with muscle and bone. Together they hauled him into the back of the van, which had no seats and was equipped with a frightening array of medical gear and monitors. While the van raced through the night, Victor ripped open Gabriel's shirt. Buttons flew in every direction. Hold this, he ordered, handing Maya a gruesome clamp. Press here. Do not look if blood makes you sick. Maya looked. She saw torn flesh, dark arterial blood bubbling. She felt nausea rise but swallowed it. Blood does not make me sick, she lied. Just save him. The bullet past the liver grazed the intercostal artery, Victor muttered, working with terrifying speed. He got lucky. Or he is too mean to die. They did not go to the hospital. They went to an underground clinic in the Bronx hidden under a laundromat. The air smelled of chlorine and detergent. The next 4 hours, Maya sat on a plastic stool, still in her ruined evening dress, shivering, while Victor operated on the most wanted man in the city. She watched the heart rate monitor. Every beep was comfort. Every pause a heart attack. When Victor finally stepped back, stripping off bloody gloves, it was 4 in the morning. "He is stable," Victor grunted, lighting a cigarette despite the no-smoking sign. "He will be unconscious a day, maybe 2. He needs blood. And I hooked up a bag. He will need more fluids." "Thank you," Maya whispered. "Do not thank me. Thank the deposit he made to my account in the Cayman Islands 5 years ago." Victor looked at her, squinting. "You are not one of his usual. No tattoos. No scars. And you are wearing a dress that costs more than my house. Who are you?" "I am a waitress," Maya said, dropping her head into her hands. Victor laughed, a dry, raspy cough. "And I am the Pope." Maya did not leave Gabriel's side. She found a rag and a bucket of warm water and carefully washed soot and blood from his face. She washed his hands. Hands that had killed people. Hands that had held her waist when they jumped through fire. Somewhere near dawn, she fell asleep in the chair with her hand on his forearm. She woke to the feeling of fingers in her hair. Maya startled and opened her eyes. Gabriel was looking at her. His skin was pale, almost grey, but his eyes were open, dark, and focused. "You are alive," she exhaled, relieved. His voice was hoarse, and broken. Immensely she smiled, and tears stung her eyes. "I was planning to steal your watch." Gabriel tried to laugh but winced, grabbing his side. "Where are we?" "With Victor in the Bronx." Gabriel nodded slowly. "For now we are safe." He looked at her. He noticed the dried blood on her dress, the dark circles under her eyes, how tightly she gripped his hand. "You stayed." "I told you," Maya said softly. "I did not need a corpse in my section." Gabriel's hand moved from her hair to her cheek. His thumb traced the line of her jaw. "You saved me, Maya." "Again." "Why?" "Because," she whispered, pressing into his touch. "It seems I am starting to like danger." It was a lie. She did not like danger. She liked him. She liked how he looked at her as if she were the only person in the room. How he protected her even while bleeding out. "Come here," he whispered. She hesitated, then carefully climbed onto the narrow cot beside him, trying not to disturb the 4 lines. He wrapped her in his good arm, pressing her to his chest. She felt his heart beating. Steady, strong, alive. "We must kill them," Gabriel whispered into her hair. The tenderness of his gesture contrasted with the cruelty of his words. "Nico. Rossi. All of them." "I know," Maya said, closing her eyes. "But not today. Today, just sleep." For the first time in her life, Maya Linwood felt safe. And she lay in the arms of a monster. Recovery was slow, agonizing, and filled with cold, smoldering rage. 3 days they remained in the basement. Victor brought greasy fast food from the place next door and news from the outside world. "On the streets, they say Gabriel Moretti is dead," Victor said on the second day, tossing a newspaper onto the cot. "Nico Vespri has taken his place. He is calling a peace summit with the 5 families to consolidate power. It will happen in 2 days at the Moretti penthouse." Gabriel stared at the ceiling. His jaw worked. "He is in my house. He is drinking my wine. He is sitting in my chair. He thinks you are dead," Maya said, peeling an orange. "That is good. The dead are hard to kill." Gabriel sat up, wincing as the stitches pulled. "I need a weapon. I need a team." "You have no team," Victor reminded him. "Nico cleaned out the loyal ones. Ellis is dead. His body was found in the river this morning." Gabriel closed his eyes for a moment. A shadow of grief crossed his face before it hardened again. "Then I will do it alone." "You cannot even reach the toilet without groaning," Maya snapped. "You are not John Wick. You are a wounded man with a thirst for revenge." "And what do you suggest, Maya?" "Let him win," Gabriel growled, swinging his legs out of the bed. "I built this empire from nothing. I will not let a traitor take it from me." "We will not let him win," Maya said, standing. She walked to the whiteboard Victor used for notes and took a marker. "We simply stop playing by his rules." She drew a rough square. "This is the penthouse. Reinforced security. Private elevator. Guards on the roof. Guards in the lobby. You cannot break in with force. I have done it before. And almost died. This time they will be waiting. Maya drew a small figure with a tray. But they will not be waiting for her. For whom Gabriel frowned. The staff, Maya said. No one holds a summit without catering. There will be waiters, bartenders, cleaning staff, people who become invisible the moment they put on the uniform. I know that world, Gabriel. I have lived in it for 10 years. People do not look at a waitress. They look through her. Gabriel stared at the drawing, then at Maya. Slow realization spread across his face. You want to walk into the lion's den. I want to open the door for you, Maya corrected. I can get a job. I have a RSUM. I can slip something into their drinks or disable the security system from inside. I can lead you through the service elevator. No, Gabriel said immediately. It is too dangerous. If Nico sees you. Nico saw a scared girl in an elegant dress. He will not recognize a waitress with dyed hair glasses and uniform with head down. It is camouflage, Gabriel. She stepped to him, placing her hands on his shoulders. You need me. You said I have eyes that see things. Let me use them. Gabriel looked exhausted. He hated the idea of exposing her to danger, but he knew she was right. He was too weak to storm the gates. He needed a key. If you do this, Gabriel said, his voice hoarse, you will follow my orders to the letter. If I say run, you run. If I say fall back, you fall back. Deal, said Maya. The next 24 hours they spent planning. Victor obtained blueprints of the penthouse security system. Gabriel used an old contactor technician named Cypher, who supplied a USB drive with a virus to disable the cameras. Maya cut her hair. She dyed it a dull chestnut. She bought a pair of thick-framed glasses and a uniform 2 sizes too large that hid her figure. That same night, Gabriel, dressed in tactical gear Victor had dug up in a warehouse. He checked the weapons with mechanical precision. He looked at Maya adjusting her apron. You look, Gabriel searched for words. Invisible, Maya suggested. Beautiful, he said. He pulled her to him, kissing her deeply. A kiss filled with desperation and promise. Come back to me. I am only carrying appetizers, she joked, though her hand shook. How hard can it be? The Moretti penthouse was a palace in the sky. It was filled with the smell of expensive cigars and the hum of power. Maya, now Clara from the catering company, moved through the crowd with a tray of champagne glasses. She kept her head down. She murmured, champagne, sir, and pardon me. No one looked her in the face. They looked at the tray. They looked at each other. Nico Vespri stood in the center of the hall raising a glass. He wore Gabriel's favorite suit. He looked triumphant. To a new era, Nico announced, his voice booming. The era of peace. The tyranny of the past is over. Rossi laughed, slapping Nico on the back. To the new king. Maya felt a wave of nausea. She moved to the kitchen, clutching the USB drive in her palm. The security terminal was behind the bar. She needed the perfect moment. She waited until one of the waiters dropped a tray of shrimp cocktails. The crash drew every eye. Maya slipped behind the bar. She found the port. She inserted the drive. Loading 99%. Done. The cameras were disabled. She tapped the earpiece twice. Path clear. In the service elevator shaft, Gabriel Maya rappelled down. He landed on the roof of the cabin, opened the hatch, and jumped inside. The service entrance doors slid open. Gabriel stepped out. He was not invisible. He was the living nightmare. He entered the main hall. Music died. Laughter died. Nico turned. The glass froze halfway to his mouth. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. Gabriel, he whispered. Get out of my chair, Nico said Gabriel, his voice low and deadly. Panic erupted. Guards reached for weapons, but Gabriel was faster. He did not shoot to kill. He shot to disarm. Bang, bang, bang. 3 guards fell, clutching arms and knees. The hall froze. Gabriel stood alone in the center of the hall. His pistol aimed at Nico's chest. You are dead, Nico screamed, backing away. I saw the report. I saw the body. You saw what you wanted to see, said Gabriel, taking a step closer. Tell me, brother. Was it worth it? Money and power. It was not about money, Nico shouted, his face contorting. It was about respect. You always treated me like a child. Like a messenger. I closed the deals. I held this family together while you played businessman. You sold us to the Russians, Gabriel countered. To the Russians. Nico laughed a manic laugh. You think Volkov was behind this? He was a puppet. I made a deal with someone much closer to home. Nico's eyes darted sideways. Maya, watching from the kitchen doorframe, followed his gaze. He was looking at Donatello Rossi. Rossi's slowly hand in the inner pocket of his jacket. He was reaching not for a cigar. Gabriel left. Maya screamed. She grabbed a heavy silver platter from the bar and hurled it like a discus. It was not a bullet, but it worked effectively. The platter slammed into Rossi's face just as he drew a short-barreled revolver. The shot went wide, shattering a vase. Gabriel spun and fired one precise shot. Rossi fell to the floor. Nico used the distraction and lunged for the weapon of a wounded guard. Gabriel turned, but he was a fraction of a second too late. Nico raised the pistol. Everything. A red dot appeared on Nico's forehead. It was not a laser sight. It was the reflection of city lights bouncing off the diamond necklace Maya had slipped into her pocket earlier. The evidence she had taken from the safe. She raised the necklace, catching the light from the chandelier, and blinded Nico for a fraction of a second. Nico flinched, covering his eyes. That was all Gabriel needed. He did not shoot. He covered the distance in 2 steps and struck Nico with the pistol, but across the jaw. Nico dropped like a felled tree. Gabriel stood over him, breathing hard. He looked around the room at the terrified guests, the other bosses huddled in corners. The meeting is over, Gabriel announced. Get out, all of you. Before I change my mind. The room emptied in seconds. The powerful people of New York scattered like rats from a sinking ship. Gabriel looked at Nico groaning on the floor. Looked at the pistol in his hands. Then holstered it. I am not going to kill you, Nico, Gabriel said quietly. Nico looked up, spitting blood. Why? Because we are family. No, said Gabriel. Because death is too easy. You wanted to run the business. Fine. You will run the mailroom in prison. I am handing you to the feds. You will rot in a cell until the end of your days, knowing you had everything and lost it all. Gabriel turned his back on him. He headed to the kitchen. Maya stood there still in the baggy uniform with disheveled hair, clutching the silver platter. Gabriel stopped in front of her. He carefully reached out and removed the glasses from her face. I missed, she exhaled, pointing at Rossi's body. I was aiming for the arm. You did everything perfectly, Gabriel said. He took her face in his hands and kissed her. It was not a kiss of boss and subordinate. It was the kiss of a man recognizing his equal. You are fired, Gabriel whispered against her lips. What? Maya pulled back, confused. You are a terrible waitress. He smiled, the first genuine smile she had ever seen on his face. You drop things. You yell at customers. You throw cutlery. So said Gabriel, pulling a velvet box from his pocket that he had taken from the safe moments before the shooting started. I have a new position. Partner. Salary terrible. Work hours infinite. And from time to time they try to kill you. Maya looked at him. She looked at the city lights spreading below. At the world they had just conquered. Does the medical insurance come with it, she asked. Full coverage, Gabriel promised. Maya smiled. Then I accept. The red dot with which it all began, the sniper's laser, did not hit its target, but in the end Gabriel Moretti was struck by something far more dangerous. He fell in love. And that was the only bullet he never wanted to dodge. And so, with overturned trays and a decision made in a fraction of a second, everything changed for Maya Linwood. She went from serving drinks to running an empire, proving that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is not the one with a gun in hand, but the one who has nothing to lose.